Well, there we are, 3 Commissioner Lawleys for the price of 1. You know, we lived in Canada for 8 years, my wife and I, working up there at the THQ before we went home. And all the time we've been there, actually when we came to live in Canada, we brought our cat with us because we loved our old ginger cat very much indeed. So we brought him to Canada, and that was fine. But when we wanted to go home, the English had a rule to say that animals had to go into quarantine for 6 months, no less. So after a lot of hard thought and bitter tears, we decided to send him on to try and get some time in before we got back. So he went into quarantine for 6 months. When we got back to England, we got a letter saying that we could visit him. And that visiting days would be on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 1 till 4. Sounds good. So we got in the car and drove off down to where he was. But it's hard to know really what to talk to a cat about for 2.5 hours. I mean, you get the preliminaries over. Hello, how are you? And he doesn't really respond too much. You sort of say it again, but it gets a bit boring after a while. Hello, how are you? And you give him a bit, and well, about 3 or 4 minutes it was over, and then my wife, fighting back the tears, and I left him in the cage and came away to wait till Thursday. On Thursday, back to the quarantine, same conversation. Hello, how are you? Gets a bit boring after a while, you must admit. But that's what we had to do. Well, eventually we got him out, and 6 months he was reunited. But I think the time inside had been a bit hard on him, and it took a bit of rejuvenating when we got him home. And we had a shed that in the garden that we thought he'd like to get up on top. It was sunny on there, and we thought the sun would do him good. He'd look up, but he didn't seem to have the strength to get up there. My wife said, build him some steps up. So I took the hammer and saw and built some steps up the top of the shed. The cat sat and watched me for 2 days. And the day I finished, he took one leap and jumped straight up on top of the shed. That was that. Well, I'm sorry to say our dear old cat has now gone to heaven. Well, I'm not sorry he's gone to heaven, but I'm sorry that he's left us and leaves us with happy memories. That now brings our 3 gentlemen back.